Monsanto. Monsanto. Let's take a look at Monsanto. They are a fabulous company, aren't they? Been around since the 1900s. I want to let you know right now that they are the ones that create genetically modified organisms. That's right, they're in agriculture. They also create Roundup. And through genetically modified organisms, what they're able to do is produce seed, like this corn you see here. It'll grow this corn and it will be resistant to the Roundup. They're able to take the DNA of the seed and exchange it with some of the DNA from the Roundup and make this corn resilient to Roundup. Okay? That's Roundup, the spray that you spray on anything alive and green, and it'll die. It'll go all over the corn won't die, and then we eat it. So that is a little idea of what they're into with genetically modified organisms. And when you look at this, 95% of the nation's sugar beets, 94% of the soybeans, 90% of the cotton, and 88% of the feed corn, according to 2011 International Service for Acquisition of Agricultural Applications report. This is the most commonly grown commodity crops that are genetically modified or genetically engineered. So a lot of our food are coming from this. I'm going to let you know this is going to be very visual. If you have a weak stomach, you may want to go ahead and shut this off, because I'm going to show you what they did first. They actually started out with Agent Orange, and Agent Orange, it had over 500,000 birth defects in Vietnam. All you got to do is type Agent Orange and go to images, and you're going to see some things that's going to make you realize that they had very, very bad problems after Vietnam. Okay, you can go into details on this and do a documentary just on Vietnam. Dioxin is the toxin that's in Agent Orange, and dioxin is very poisonous. It has been called the most toxic substance made by man, dioxin. And when you look at this, they actually knew Agent Orange was poisonous 20 years before. 20 years before, there was a plant explosion at Monsanto, and Agent Orange got all over some of the employees. 200 men had chloracne, and it was bad. They knew it was highly toxic then. So they actually submitted Agent Orange to our FDA, and the FDA even knew then that it was toxic. I mean, it was fact that it was toxic. And they released it and still got it sprayed all over our soldiers and all over Vietnam and what they did there. And if you look at Vietnam today, it's still a wreck. Now remember, after you see Vietnam, you got to look back and remember these are the same people that's growing our food. Okay, let's go to the next thing they may have got into. Have you heard of DDT? DDT was very bad, and human health harms. The science on DDT's human health impacts has continued to mount over the years, with recent studies showing harm at very low levels of exposure. Studies show a range of human health effects linked to DDT and its breakdown product, DDE. Breast and other cancers, male infertility, miscarriages, low birth weight, developmental delay, nervous system, and liver damage. DDT was outlawed and banned. This is just another thing that they produced. So you have to understand a couple things. Number one, how do they do Agent Orange? How do they get it submitted knowing that it was toxic, and who was not held liable for that? See, Monsanto is set up in a way that they cannot be held criminally liable, but they can only be held civilly liable, right? So even, knowing that Agent Orange was poisonous, even if they didn't know it was poisonous 20 years before, why would they continue to approve products made by Monsanto? Or at least take a closer look at what they're doing. So you see DDT, another poisonous insecticide that they sprayed everywhere. This is some of the spraying that they did. Girls exposed to DDT before puberty were 5 times more likely to develop breast cancer in middle age. Nearly 40 years after DDT was banned in the U.S., we continue to live with its long-lasting effects. This was bad. Of course, it's already been banned. Let's look at this right here. The next thing you're going to say is, well, why would they ever approve an organization like the Monsanto to deal with anything from the public. I mean, at some point in time, you got to say, hey, these people have destroyed us. They sprayed us with Agent Orange. And why would you ever let these people ever produce anything for the public again? But yet again, here they are. They have a little town called Anniston, Alabama, and what they did here was completely destroy it with substances called PCBs. PCBs was extremely dangerous. Over 200 of them have been outlawed. They created the PCBs. Monsanto, you'll look at a lot of what they've done. They created this stuff through chemical design. They created their very first thing, which made them a lot of money before Agent Orange and everything, was actually saccharin. They started producing saccharin. That's right, the artificial sweetener for Coca-Cola. And that's what made them a lot of money. Then they started producing vanilla and cinnamon. And this was not, your normal vanilla and cinnamon. This was not the real thing. This was the artificial stuff that they made in their lab as a knockoff. So this is where they made a lot of money, and then they went to Agent Orange, and then they went to DDT, and then you have the PCB issue. When you look at the PCB issue, it is a disaster what happened. 2003, Monsanto finally confessed and agreed to pay $700 million to more than 20,000 residents in the first civil suit of its kind. Thousands of pages of Monsanto documents, many marked confidential, read and destroy, proved that for decades the corporate giant concealed what it did and what it knew. This is a classic case of corporate abuse as well as violation of public trust, says Jay Feldman, Executive Director of Health and Environment Group Beyond Pesticides. Even as the signs piled up of its dangers and adverse effects, the company continued to ignore the warning signs. They're right. It was bad. What they did with PCBs in this little town completely destroyed it. 3 years later, they found fish in another nearby creek with 7,500 times the legal PCB levels. Yes. It was disastrous. From the 40s to 70s, Monsanto knowingly dumped millions of pounds of the now banned industrial chemical PCBs into the town's landfill and creek. PCBs have been shown to cause cancer in animals and humans, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a frequently fatal form of cancer. Some employees suspected danger as early as the 1950s, yet company management did nothing in response to their concerns. In 1966, Monsanto managers discovered that fish submerged in the Chocolaco turned belly up within 10 seconds. And that was a little area where the water ran off. 10 seconds, spurting blood and shedding skin as if dunked into boiling water. They told no one. Yeah, Monsanto managers discovered a fish, belly up within 10 seconds, spurting blood and shedding skin as if dunked into boiling water, and they told no one. This is truth. This is why they were awarded the, was it 700 million? Yeah, 700 million. It was bad. I'm going to show you some more in depth on all of this. But I just want to briefly go over this again. Again, I want to show you these are the people that are now controlling most of our food. Hello. Hello. Okay, what's next? The bovine growth hormone. Have you heard of it? The bovine growth hormone, it's also called RBGH. It's banned in the European Union and around the world. Originally approved by many countries shortly after its release, RBGH has since been banned by the European Union, Canada, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and Israel. Most of these bans went into effect in 2000, some earlier. It didn't take the scientists long to figure out that this stuff wasn't quite right. Medical experts declared it unsafe. Human danger. There is links to various types of cancers and problems. What happens is this RBGH is a growth hormone that allows the cows to produce more milk. The problem is we don't need cows to produce more milk. But when they do that, they also get infections and other things, and they have to start giving them antibiotics. And then you get into this nasty realm of infections and fighting them with antibiotics, and sometimes you create these bacterial strains which can become really dangerous in that. And that's what's happened with this growth hormone. They knew there was going to be problems with it. And the problems that I see is, with this hormone, the way that Monsanto got this approved is they had their own scientists formulate the results. They actually tested the growth hormones, or said they did, had their own scientists formulate documents and submit it to the FDA. Now, the FDA then in turn has their scientists review it, and then they pass it. They don't go out there with a clipboard and actually check out the place. No, this is not, I mean, even the health inspector is going to carry out more authority than what's going on at the FDA right now. It's ridiculous. And so this is not all. So you go into the bovine growth hormone. You see it now everywhere, talking about the whether it's RBGH free or not in our milk and cheese and dairy. It's a big problem. But that's not all. Let me show you what else they've done. They've also created the Terminator seed. Let's see what that is. It's genetic use restriction technology. Colloquially known as the Terminator technology or suicide seed, is the name given to proposed methods for restricting the use of genetically modified plants by causing second-generation seeds to be sterile. What does that mean? That means you grow a tomato plant and it has seeds in it. You can replant those seeds and it grows. Not in these seeds. These seeds, they grow, and you grow one set of tomatoes and the seeds within them are sterile. Terminator seeds. Wow. They're affecting the genetics of all of these plant materials, and it's awful what's going on. With the Terminator seed technology, see what happens is now farmers can no longer have food seed banks. They're not going to be able to collect seed banks. Anytime they have to get seed, they have to get it from Monsanto. That alone should be a major concern for people to realize how easily, with this technology, they can control our food supply with the Terminator seed. Monsanto against Indian farmers. Let's see what else they've done. With this type technology, they can also, what happens is when they make their corn, when they make it stronger to certain types of elements or insects, or herbicides, then it becomes weaker in other aspects. For instance, in India, what happened is they made it to where the silkworm wouldn't eat their cotton. And what happened was it did become stronger, so the silkworm wouldn't eat their cotton, but it became weaker against 4 or 5 other insects. So much so, they couldn't even grow their cotton now without having to spray 2 to 3 different chemicals, obviously marketed by Monsanto, in order to grow the same corn that they used to. So, yeah, they took care of the problem with the silkworm eating the corn, eating the cotton, but they caused several more issues to pop up. And when you talk to the farmers there in India, they would much rather had the original corn. It has been devastating to their environment. Over 600 Indian farmers have committed suicide. The issue of monopoly is before the Competitive Commission of India, which has stated that Monsanto has violated competition laws and there is prima facie evidence of monopoly. And so what they're saying is they can't grow their food efficiently because of these genetically modified seeds. Now, the danger in this, what we have to understand is, danger of seeds like this, they cross-pollinate. So you can have these seeds that are in one farmer's farm, and they will cross-pollinate into another farmer's farm. That includes Terminator seeds. That includes the seeds that are effective by the genetically modified organisms. All of those things, okay? So let's also look at the thing that they're using now, which is Roundup. Monsanto Roundup. It is very toxic for you. It is still in use today. It is one of their largest cash crops. Like I said, they're spraying it. Look, the guy's got his chemical mask and stuff on, but they're spraying it on your food you're going to eat. This is supposed to be okay. Roundup is not okay. And I'm going to tell you that genetically modified organisms are not okay. And you have to realize that the same people that released Agent Orange, DDT, PCBs, asbestos. Anybody ever heard of asbestos? Guess who made it? Monsanto. There's another one I didn't throw in here. And the list goes on. aspartame, the growth hormone here, Roundup. I mean, at what point in time should we consider who do we let produce our food? The same people who's given us all these other things over the years? Now think about what I'm saying for just a second. Monsanto, the producer of our food, has produced Agent Orange, DDT, PCBs, the Terminator seeds, the growth hormone for milk, Roundup. Do you get it? They weren't held criminally liable. They were held on civil charges in this. This is crimes against humanity. 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 Every bit of it is. It's an outright disgrace what's going on, people. And other people need to understand exactly who's making our food. Who's in charge of the agricultural scene and the seed situation. Okay? Now, you need to see how they're doing this, because when you're able to transform a seed like they did down in India and take the silkworm and sell it to the farmers by telling them, you know, it's going to be resistant to the silkworm, and then they can't grow their crop because now it's not resilient to all the other insects, and they just swarm in and consume their crop. They can't even grow it without these other insecticides. What is that other than mafia type style movement? And the only reason that they don't treat us here this way is because we still have the power here. The people still have the power. But you better wake up and see what's going on, because Monsanto has done a lot of damage to our country and has done a lot of damage and continues to do so. Matter of fact, let's look at this. There was a huge lawsuit filed against Monsanto. This ended at the end of 2017. And they did find Monsanto guilty on all the charges of crimes against humanity. When you look through this will give you an idea of what all's going on and how the world is trying to stand up. Let's just look at some of the judges and some of the people that are involved in this. And so you're going to see why this is from some of the biggest people, some major organizations in the world that you know, some people are taking action, and it's about time. 5 internationally renowned judges heard 30 witnesses and experts from 5 continents. Okay? These are some of the people that was involved. She is a consultant to the International Criminal Court, a former advocate general at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, and founding member and honorary chairwoman of the Senegalese Lawyers Association. Okay? This is Miss Senegal, I think is how you say that. But you'll look down through here, and currently judge at the Court of Administrative Litigation of Mexico City. A big history here in all of these people. She's the Human Rights Director for the Supreme Court Justice of Mendoza. She holds a PhD in bioethics and law, a master's in bioethics and law, a master's in family law from the University of Barcelona, Spain, where she teaches bioethics. Okay, we're not talking about flashes in the pan here. Okay, these people, you know, this was what this tribunal lawsuit was about. Now, unfortunately, Monsanto, this lovely little company that we have that grows all our food, is not able to be held against crimes against humanity because of the way that their corporation is set up. They have the major funding of Monsanto is Vanguard, and Vanguard is set up so that the money owns Vanguard. The money owns Vanguard, and then the actual people that own, and there's the actual investors that own portions of the money. So they've set it up in a way that they're not held legally liable or criminally liable for these charges. And there's legislation that's passed that allows companies to operate like this. Okay? This is why I'm talking like I am now, people. I want to let you all know exactly what's going on. I've seen enough to share everything And nothing of this is made up or some type of theory. This is all just facts about our food and the facts about what they've done here in the past. Just look at that and think for a second. If Monsanto should be dealing with our public food, or the FDA or the EPA, why? And why are they not held criminally liable for all these other abstrosities?